What's up, y'all? Today I wanted to do a video for absolute beginners on how I get isolated vocals and tempo sync them to my DAW and then set them to be in the same key and tempo as other tracks for like remixes, for Dariacore, for mashups, for stuff like that. So the final result that we're going to end up with is two different songs. So I have Breakince's song Prozac synced up now with Dane's song I Don't Care. And this is the Dane instrumental with the Breakince vocal.
I really know what's inside of me, and it was never enough. It's not a red wrong side of me. Now I'm so lost, I'm never lying.
Right, so they're synced up with each other and also with the BPM of the DAW, and it goes the same the opposite way when you have it right. The vocal should match up with the instrumental of both tracks.
At the back of the show, I'm waiting, scrolling through my phone in vain when get a text saying you'll want it for free. This little bitch just don't know anything about me.
Right, so you get the idea there. So first you get a copy of the full song, whether you're downloading it, ripping it, however you get that. Then I'll go to TuneBat and type in my song. So I have Mr. Brightside by The Killers, and then just kind of have this tab open. Then go to vocalremover.org, and I'll put a link to this in the description. Browse my files, open my track, and just wait for it to process. So after it processes, you'll have this screen right here. So the next thing I do is save, and you don't do music plus vocal. You got to do the music and the vocal, and that's going to have two separate ones instead of getting them together. So now that those are downloaded, I'm going to show it in folder. So I have my two things here, and the first thing that I'll say is when I saved my track, I saved it with C sharp, which is, remember, my key. It's C sharp major, so I don't have to put the M. M is for minor. And then I've also saved the BPM information into the track. So then I take those and I put them in my little folder that I have here for Dariacore, which is typically what I'm using vocals for these days. So now I have those in there. So then I go into my browser here. I've added the folder. So if you ever want to add a folder to your browser, you just drag it in here and drop it. Mine's already added. And so I've put my vocal down in here. So I find it, and then just click the song and add it into the FL Studio playlist, right? This is the playlist, this is the browser. So then using the track that I have here, it's not Mr. Brightside, but it's another track. The first thing that I do is, as you can see, I wanna have them snugged up to the far left. So they both start at the same point, and now I can drag them around, and I'm gonna go ahead and set my tempo, go in here, type in value, and set it to 93. And I chose this specific example for a reason that's going to kind of illustrate itself. So then I drag my audio, and I'm going to go to find my kick, right? So I have my first kick here. That's the kick, and you can play it if you don't know what kicks look like. But that's my kick on the music, and I'm dragging both my vocals and my music to where the kick starts right there. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to trim off the beginning, right? And so that's going to help me to be able to move this in a way that when I change the tempo again, so like if I move it, it changes it with the downbeat being at the beginning, right? So now if I go in here and play it with the click track on, you should be able to tell almost instantly if it's in beat or not. And I can do that with just the vocals. So
Pull up in the truck, I'm late, yeah. Thinking about all the bends I'm yet to make it.
Right, and if you listen to that, there it sounds like it's maybe in time with it, but if I go to further in the song, as you can tell, it's definitely not in the correct tempo, right? And the reason for that is TuneBat and most services that like tell you the tempo don't go in incremental values. They just do the nearest whole number here. So one way to fix that is you can always take your music, not your vocals, do this with the music part of it, edit it in the audio editor, right click this tempo section, and then auto detect songs with constant tempo. If it's a multi-tempo song, so if there's a tempo switch, you can do the other method, but then we have this here is saying it's at 185. So 185 divided by 2 is 92.5, right? And if you do this method, then all you have to do here is go to type in value 92.5, and it should be correct now. And that sounds like it's right. Let's say I didn't want to do that though, or Sometimes FL's little tempo editor here doesn't get it exactly right. Mostly it does, but sometimes it feels a little off to me. And the thing that you can do here is just go in, and I'm looking at my kick here. Now I'm going to go to a kick way further in the track, so I can see here there's like another section starting. And since the kick is not on the downbeat, I can just go in here and drag this. Don't click the big numbers, click the decimal points. And as I raise the tempo, it's getting more out of sync. So I'm definitely going to want to go downwards. And so I'm just going to kind of drag this until it's in the right spot. And you can see there, it looks like 92.5 is exactly where I want to be. So my track is in the correct tempo to make a remix out of, or whatever.
Pull up in the truck, I'm late, yeah.
And I would usually just click and solo my vocals and have the metronome on to verify that that's right, and it sounds right to me. So the next thing that I typically do is I'll go into this and click stretch or generic or whatever type of time stretching I want to have. And then drag my tempo slider back up to a whole digit. So if I'm trying to do this for like a remix or just, you know, some kind of edit of this song, then I might just try and tempo set it to whatever my track is. But in the case of Dariacore or Mashups, the next thing I want to do is the exact same set of steps, but for a different song. So I got Prozac by Breakins here. It should be in 99, so we'll go 99. And then I'm going to go and look for a kick to be my downbeat, right? Okay, and it looks like we skipped the first kick here, and I just, that's probably not going to be obvious. So the thing that I'll do... Okay, so it sounds like we're switching sections right here. So that means that this kick is not getting skipped, so I can go in here and treat this as my downbeat. So I'm going to go and just kind of slide this to here, sync it up, right? Get it where that kick transient's right on the start, and then go back to the first kick and see if that looks like the correct spacing for that. And one way to really quickly tell, like, is this the correct thing, is are my kicks and snares happening at an even increment? So it looks again here like 99 is not the exact, yeah, definitely not the exact tempo for this. So let me do the second method that I showed here to try and get this in the correct key. So I'm going to go in here. This is my spot, slice it off right there, and then drag it back to the beginning part of this. And then I'll go to a kick way further in the track. We'll say maybe right. Let me look for a... So that looks like a new section starting, and it starts with a kick. What about here? Yeah, that's a new section starting with the kick. So now I'm going to take my tempo and again, just adjust it until it's correct, just to prove that this method works too. And look at that. It looks like it's on 98.5. So now we'll solo out my vocals and see, does this sound like it is correctly tempo synced? I can't take it anymore. Yeah, so that sounds like it's definitely right. Now let me just, for the sake of being thorough, show you guys what it's going to sound like if you didn't go to the section switch and you like missed the correct section. So I can't take it. So now that's in the correct tempo, but the verse and chorus are off, which is going to mess you up when you're like switching, you know, maybe you have 8 bars of a thing, and then your 8 bars is not landing on the first part of that. So the best way to like remedy that is really to try and find the start of your song. So I'll go to here, we'll pull this all the way back out. That looks like the start of the song right there. So I'll clip this off. And then I can just really quickly go back. So now that I have both of my tracks synced up, I'm going to go ahead and do the same step where I stretch this and stretch this. I'll set them to stretch mode. And now I'm just going to kind of go back and forth and see, do my Prozac vocals fit with my Dane instrumental? Right, so we have that. That sounds definitely like it's in the right key. Okay, that's good. Now let's do the opposite. So we'll see, do my Dane vocals fit my Prozac track?
Pull up in the truck, I'm late, yeah. Thinking about all the bends I'm yet to make, and I was looking for you in.
Wow, that's a really cool mix. I'm gonna probably make a track out of this. That sounds really good.
Fuck you.
Okay, yeah, so that sounds like it's right. Now the next thing that I typically will do, just for fun's sake, if you know, like let's say we were doing Dariacore, I'm gonna solo out one of my vocals. We'll do the Dane vocal, and let's put it at a different tempo and just see if it still works. So we'll go way up to 140.
Fuck you. Does it look like I care about you?
Yeah, that sounds good. What about my Prozac?
I'm staying up late on IG, float songs.
So that 140 is kind of getting into the range that I would say is a little too fast for that. Unless you want to go crazy and just do it super speed, right? You can do whatever you want.
I'm staying up late on IG, float songs. It's just like
See, and that sounds even better than 140. What about the Dane? Yeah, that doesn't quite sound right to me. Let's do like a Jersey club.
Fuck you. Does it look like?
Hell yeah, that sounds great.
I'm staying up late on IG.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a cool track. Okay, so that's basically my process for that. Hopefully it explains how to get that. And then the other thing too is like, let's say these were not in the same key. You would go in here. So if this was in A and I needed it to be in G, I could just really quickly go in here and pitch it down 2 octaves, right? To match the G there if this was in A. So that's on my keyboard here. This is A, this is G. I'm going to go 1, I said octaves, but 1, 2 semitones down to match that. And then they should be in the correct key for each other. So then lastly, I'll say if I was trying to do this for a track that I've already made, what I would do is figure out what key my track is in, pick a song that's relatively close to that key, or it doesn't really kind of matter, but I usually try and pick one that's the same key or close to the same tempo. Then just do all those same steps, right? So I would like change it to 98.5, sync up my Prozac vocal, and then change it back to the original tempo, right? So if it was a 155 track, then put it back at 155. Then let's say my song that I had already made is in D, so I would go in here and I would say this is in G, right? So this is here, and I need it to be in D. So does it sound better pitched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones down or 7 semitones up? Let me change this back. So then I would go in here and see, does it sound better 7 semitones up with my track? That's a little chipmunky, but that might work. That's also a little weird. So I would try and aim for like 1 to 2 to 3, maybe 4 at most. But whatever works the best for you is probably going to be, it's going to be a case by case basis. So that's going to be it for this one, y'all. I wanted to do this one just because I've talked about this a couple times, but I haven't really broke down exactly what I'm talking about for people who are really new to producing. So yeah, now you can take this and make a cool track out of it. So go have fun with that. Thank you for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one.